Excited today to have two people who have some inside information on HHS. Delany was working to implement MAHA, a sort of liaison between HHS and MAHA, and Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who was working with pandemic preparation within HHS. Welcome, guys. And I want to start with Gray because you were sort of fired first, but I will say it seems like this was a package deal in some sense because I know it, well, from what I understand, Gray, your firing had to do with the way you communicated BARDA canceling contracts, the mRNA contracts, but give us just a quick overview of what happened.
Yeah, so I originally reached out to you, gosh, back in June through Emerald Robinson because when I came on, I saw it as one of my roles, or one of my chief role, was to liaison with our most fervent and dedicated medical freedom supporters in the medical freedom community. And of course, you're one of them, Dr. Bowden, have done heroic work really advocating about the harms of the COVID vaccine. So unfortunately, I was trying, what I wanted to do was to start regularly communicating, saying, here's what's going on at HHS, here's what's coming up. If we're trying to lead to something that may be more controversial, say removing the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer, Novartis, and not Novartis, AstraZeneca. Those Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Moderna, removing the EUA for those three vaccines, we need to do the advanced work to provide cover for those decisions and to build up support. So I had hoped to start a regular communication with a list of MAHA supporters. At that point, they were completely shut out and had no communication whatsoever with HHS. And I was told by Stephanie Spear that that was not possible. We were not allowed to communicate with anyone outside HHS. So therefore, I pivoted to trying to work with MAHA Action and trying to feed some information to MAHA Action. Unfortunately, a lot of that information didn't get out either. And so we were just doing an incredibly poor job of strategic communications because every announcement that was made in a vacuum. There was no advanced foreknowledge, or the ground wasn't laid for the announcements. And so you'd see these come out, and there might be one X post and a video from Secretary Kennedy, and that was it. And then we'd lose any momentum we had, or we wouldn't have any momentum to start with. So I guess the first let's go ahead.
Well, I was going to say real quick, I mean, why did they hire you if they're not letting you do that? Because wasn't that the purpose of your job?
Yeah, well, that's a $1 million question. So the overarching problem at HHS is that Secretary Kennedy does not have his people at HHS. He doesn't have Peter McCullough. He doesn't have Dr. Geithler. He doesn't have Dr. Reinkel. He doesn't have you. He doesn't have any of these people to implement your agenda. And personnel is policy, and there is massive institutional resistance within these government agencies to the health freedom agenda and to getting to the bottom of the rot at FDA, at CDC. And to my knowledge, there was very few people there. That's one reason I reached out to Dr. Hatfill very early on. I wanted to meet him because I knew of the heroic work he had done during COVID, especially on promoting hydroxychloroquine, and had a whole pandemic preparedness plan. And so I got through basically because Scott Besson, I worked for Scott Besson at All Seasons Press. He recommended me, and Steve Bannon did. And it took, and RFK, and I was working with Secretary Kennedy. So it took them pushing personnel. And then at the last minute, Stephanie Spear tried to block my appointment and call me in and called me and said, what's going on here? And I was about to receive an offer, and the offer was on the table. And then she tried to pull it back. And then what happened is that a friend of mine called surgery.
Wait, hold on. Wait, real quick. So she tried to pull you back based on what? Like, were you, were you super outspoken about COVID prior to coming on in the government? Or what were you doing right before? What?
So I'm back to my old job. I run the Seasonal Employment Alliance, which is neither here nor there. And then I have a small publishing company called Calamo Press. And I supported Secretary Kennedy during the campaign. I held a fundraiser for him in Charlottesville, Virginia. He's a graduate of UVA Law. But the point is to keep out people that can really drive this sort of transformational change that we need to make America healthy again. And so when Stephanie called me, she tried to say I had no communications experience. I wasn't properly, even though I'd been in the publishing industry, I ran Dave Bratt's primary against Eric Cantor, which is one of the most historic political upsets of the last 50 years in this country. And if you know a well-run campaign, it's all about communications, crisis communications, etc. I knew I was kind of that bridge between MAGA and MAHA. I mean, I supported Trump in 2015. I worked at the convention for President Trump, so I was a Trump guy and I was a Kennedy guy. So I was really an excellent candidate and highly qualified position. But that's the point. She didn't want really highly qualified people in these positions because she wants people that they can control. So that's people in their mid-20s that don't have a career yet, and therefore they are completely dependent upon them for advancement. That's the purpose. And so people like me, people like Dr. Hatfill, we're a problem. They don't want us.
Well, and who onboarded you? So when you get the job, and what do they tell you? Are there limits? Are there things you can't talk about, or is it just you?
No, you kind
start
of you
and do your
learn.
job.
Yeah, you learn as you go, and everyone is kind of scared of their own shadow in there, and so it becomes a very self-fulfilling prophecy that you're just not to bring up the vaccine issue. Let's focus on the easy wins first, and then we'll get to the vaccine issue eventually. Let's focus on food dyes and hormone replacement and who knows what else. But these are not the issues. So my first couple of weeks when I asked Commissioner McCary, I said, what's going on with this EUA? I'm getting blasted by the MAHA base about why we still have an EUA on these COVID vaccines. And his response was, well, we have the children that have immune suppressant or immunocompromised won't be able to receive the vaccine if we don't give them if we don't have the EUA. And when you know it, but 2 days later after that conversation with them, the announcement comes out that they've approved the Moderna Spikevax for immunocompromised children. So that was on July 12th, I believe, and that was a real wake-up call for things that were going very, very wrong. I know Dr. Hatfill was communicating to the secretary and to the FDA and to Commissioner McCary about what a disastrous decision that was. And at that time, I remember I was communicating to you, Dr. Bowden, about Vinay Prasad and the attack he was under by Big Pharma, by including a lot of Trump people like Chris Lasavita, Reince Priebus, Laura Loomer, Rick Santorum, about pulling this muscular dystrophy drug called Sarepta. So Vinay, and ultimately he had to resign. Now he's back. I don't know what kind of shackles he has on him, but he was at that point doing very good work. But I mean, FDA has to be completely overhauled. There needs to be a complete review of everything that was approved the last 30 or 40 years, and that's not going to be done. Commissioner McCary is a very nice guy, but he is not going to really get to the bottom of the rot at FDA, and that is absolutely needed, almost more than anything. So we have a real personnel problem. Stephanie Spear, working with Matt Buckham, is basically sequestered Kennedy. He doesn't speak with anyone. He's kept in his own silo, and so information can be kept from him, so the truth can be kept from him. This was the exact same problem he had during the campaign. I believe he's being managed. I believe he knows it, and that's why he couldn't call me. He couldn't call Dr. Hatfill because he has nothing to say because he's humiliated by it. He knows that it was the wrong decision, but he basically was told that he had to, and so he had no choice. So we need to somehow figure out how to break Secretary Kennedy free from this chokehold.
All right. Well, I guess I was going to ask Dr. Hatfill something, but he.
Okay.
Well, so there you are.
Hi.
All right, Dr. Hatfill, it's your turn. Will you kind of give us an overview of the final, like what led up to all this? Well, actually, before you do that, so I want to talk about your onboarding. Who hired you, and were there limits on what you could say, or was it, were you blindsided by this?
Yeah, there were a number of us talking to each other. One chap that should have been really FDA commissioner. And again, Dr. McCary, he's a very nice man. He's a kind man. But you needed a street fighter put in there if you're going to make anything. And we're watching this. This is very early on when they're still interviewing at Mar-a-Lago. And the right people weren't getting called up. Poor Harvey Risch was waiting to take over as director of the National Cancer Institute. My understanding was he was going to start reviewing all the chemotherapy drug trials and getting rid of these drugs that, you get to live 3 months longer in misery. And he would have saved millions and millions of dollars. He's one of the treasures of the United States, is Harvey Risch. So that was one thing, and they just ignored him. I said, "Oh yeah, no, we want you for National Cancer Center," and yeah, but he never did get an interview, and they picked some guy, an oncologist with big pharma connections. So something was odd from the very beginning. And then Matt Buckham originally was White House liaison from HHS to the personnel people, Sergio Gore and these folks. And again, the right people weren't being called in. Mr. Kennedy would occasionally get somebody in that he wanted, but when they were there, they were sort of marginalized. They were sort of blocked. So um, I was sort of left out, and Peter Navarro hit the roof, and I think he went over and raised hell. So I got an interview, and it was with Matt Buckham and his assistant. Was it Boothby? Nice guy. And so we sat down. It was a nice, smooth interview. And they told me, well, and I was saying, look, I'm here to help and defend Mr. Kennedy's policies. I believe in him. I can help him with the science. And that's my goal. And if I don't like what he's doing, I'm the one that'll leave. Yeah. You're hired as a political, you're hired to support the boss. So my goal was to get a joint task force going, combined with some of the country's top scientists that had proven that they can't be corrupted, combined with a special prosecutor and Department of Justice. There's enough evidence now for some of these companies for RICO charges, and the medical journals were lying. Everybody was lying to cover up 2 safe and effective drugs to make room on purpose for these vaccines, which have now killed hundreds of thousands or crippled, I guess. I mean, young women have had their legs cut off for 3-foot-long blood clots. The list just keeps growing larger and larger, and now we're into the cancers. If you've had 3 shots of an mRNA vaccine, there's a 46% increased chance of cancer for some cancers. And we're seeing it. And when we look at the tumors, we find the spike protein of the COVID virus inside the tumor. So these shots are what we call carcinogenic. They can cause cancer. Even worse, some of these fragments are integrating into the recipient's own DNA. Small fragments, but it's creating proteins that the body's never seen before, and putting the whole immune system in a constant state of circulation. This myth of giving it to the immunocompromised children is just complete and utter nonsense. We have effective drug treatments, 2 of them. You can give ivermectin to kids if you need to. It's on a body weight basis. So this is all rubbish. It's a smokescreen. It's gaslighting. Everybody stuck their necks out to get rid of these vaccines. And virtually overnight, there's the spike vax being sold. Anyway, so Matt Buckham's interviewing me. And I'm not pushing the task force thing. I'm there to help Mr. Kennedy. And he says, well, we have a problem over at ASPR, which is the Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response. And there's no secretary there still for ASPR, but the principal deputy secretary, Matt Buckham, didn't like him. And I said, well, now I didn't want to go to ASPR, but that's all that was open. So you go in, and I got through the interview, and then it was like a number of weeks later, you come in and you in process, and you sign all the paperwork. There's 100 forms to sign and fill out. And, they're pretty complicated. Security clearance is involved. And we jumped through all the hoops. And I got to meet the principal deputy secretary of ASPR. And he's a national hero, Mr. John Knox. He was on the ground and 9/11. There were no protective masks or equipment. He's an hazmat spray. He knew he was breathing in stuff as toxic as Drano, and he still did it. And Mr. Buckham wants to get rid of him. Well, he turned out to be, next to Peter Navarro, one of the finest bosses I've ever had. We were a good team, and it was built around teamwork. Within a few months, he came in and said, "You're now the chief medical officer." So Meryl Nass, I don't know if this shows. There, Meryl Nass, chief medical officer. Idiot woman. No, really.
All right.
So
Shots
by
fired.
this time, the data had become so overwhelming of the vaccine harms. A recent paper just now, we now know that the kidney damage that you see early on is progressive. It just keeps going until you have renal failure and need a transplant. Okay? The damage is a major, major public health catastrophe for this country. Our death rate is twice that of India, which has a 6 times greater population. And a lot of these now, it looks like it's from actually the vaccine killing people. So it had to be stopped. And we went to Mr. Kennedy and explained the data. And I'd never met him before. The guy's a real man. He's a tough guy. And he makes very quick decisions. If you convince him, like Pete Navarro, once you convince him that this is correct, then get out of the way. And he said, "Shut it down." And he looked at me and said, "I want you on television." I don't like going on television, But I want you on television. He looked at Stephanie, said, "I want him on all these programs." And I couldn't believe it. All we had power to do at this stage.
He gave you the green light.
Yeah. All we had power to do this stage was shut down all the 22 messenger RNA programs, stop work orders at BARDA. I was also supervising BARDA in their direction as a political. So that's what we did. And Steve Bannon, I don't know how he finds out all this stuff, but like by the time I sort of got back to the office. Anyway, so we're on Steve Bannon's show, and I've known him for a number of years, and we go round and round and fight a lot. But for once, he didn't interrupt, and I got on the program and explained to the American people why it was necessary to stop these shots. Some relatively new technology was coming into wide play use, which could take a snapshot of the biochemistry of a cell. And you could see before vaccination, after vaccination in human tissue. And it was creating unholy havoc. That's the only way to describe it. Tumor suppressor genes were being shut down, oncogenes activated, DNA repair mechanisms disturbed. And these changes were being methylated. In other words, they were making permanent which genes are on and which genes are off. And if not permanent, it's very long term. This couldn't be allowed anymore. And it was understood, I think, by all of us that the shills would be after us eventually. That's how business is done in Washington, D.C. But we were ready for it, and there was no choice. Morally, the shots had to be stopped. So they were stopped. And we all pretty much understood. We now had a due date for working at HHS. We had an expiry date. And they tolerated me. I went on the Bannon program. I got a phone call from Alaska from Senator Kennedy saying, "What a great job." And Stephanie Spear, who didn't want me on the program, so duplicitous. Oh, Dr. Hatfill, that was so good. She tried to block me being on it. So that was good. And I went on Emerald's show the next day. And my mandate was to get on everything. And boy, I get a phone call from Matt Buckham, who is now, I think, temporary chief of staff for Mr. Kennedy. He's controlled by Susie Wilds. All this leads back to one or two people running things.
Right.
Matt Buckham is not Mr. Kennedy's chief of staff. It's Susie Wilds' deputy, if that makes any sense.
Well, and it looked like, yeah, Gray had tweeted something about the announcement, and then Trump had said he was going to have a meeting. He was asked about it at a press conference, and he said, "Well, we're going to have a meeting about that." Am I right, Gray? And that might have been the final blow for you because you posted
it was
that?
basically because I wasn't controllable. So they wanted with that decision. I mean, this is one of the most controversial decision that's come out of HHS to date, which was cutting over $500 million in funding for mRNA technology. And so that necessitates a robust defense of that decision, including laying out the harms, the scientific studies that we relied on to make that decision. Dr. Hatfill had all that. You don't just send out one tweet, one of the secretaries in Alaska, and call it a day. It's not how it works. So secretaries in Alaska, the announcement's made, and there's no plan. There's no fact sheet. There's no plan to go on media, even though you have CNBC, you have everyone talking. I mean, Washington's run by money, obviously. That's the way the world's run. So this is a huge amount of money at stake. And lobbyists also are, this is where their bread and butter is. So we knew the network. We had mapped out the network that was calling Trump and that was advocating, like that I named them earlier, Priebus and Santorum and La Savita and Lord Loomer. And we were sure they were going to be ramping up the same sort of lobbying campaign. And so we had to take it upon ourselves to do our own defense. And I went through the proper channels. I went to Rich Danker, the Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs. I drafted a fact sheet. I sent it to Dr. Hatfill for review. I went on the Maha action call because that was my job. Not everything I did was completely, it wasn't me going completely rogue. It's the problem is Stephanie wants to control everything, but the whole point of that whole thing was not to have a robust defense. I believe I contacted you that evening when I put out that tweet. She tried to say I divided Trump and Kennedy. No, I didn't. I didn't divide them. All I did was put out that Trump said this and that we needed to rally and unify our base to support the Secretary's courageous decision and tell Trump to hold the line. Because of course, I'm not naive. Of course he's getting calls in the pharmaceutical industry, and we have to flex our muscle as a base by the millions. And we did. You helped that night, and others, everyone did. Even people have been very, very negative. And the decision has yet to be made.
We lost our momentum. We had a chance here to put these people on the ropes, to get all the evidence out there. For a couple weeks, we could have been on the press. I sent over numerous requests from people to be in the media, and she turned down every one of them. And it died itself through lack of water. And this was intentional.
So she had to approve Stephanie Spears has to approve any media appearance?
Everything. Approve every tweet. Every tweet.
Yeah.
Every media appearance. Every single thing. Every travel. Everything.
I'm in a chain of command, which I respected, and I did. I stayed off the media. I would send things. No. Although they were correct things to do. So this woman is destroying Mr. Kennedy. And I think the goal from the very beginning, because this was very early, I think ultimately behind it is Susie Wilds. Unfortunately, she's President Trump's chief of staff. They didn't want the status quo changed. And they've jumped into bed with Big Pharma. Americans are being shined on. There's not going to be any criminal prosecutions of Fauci and these other people. There's not going to be any RICOs. You're not going to break Pfizer up. In fact, the president was shaking hands with the head of Pfizer the other day and announcing that he'd had a messenger RNA COVID vaccine. One, that he didn't need. Two, is it for the strain that's circulating now? And poor Mr. Kennedy's in the background looking like the emperor with no clothes. This is outrageous.
Do you think Kennedy made a deal? Do you think Kennedy made a deal though, like that we don't know about?
No, he's a strong man. I think he got shoved out of the way, or they've got something on him. That when things.
Yeah, my perspective is there's some.
And then did you, Dr. Hatfill?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, Dr. Hatfill, real quick, did you talk to Kennedy since this happened, since you were fired?
He's never phoned me. We've had no contact. Just before I was fired, I was going after the DNA nonsense, the interfering DNAs. They want to use these experimental gene therapies with interfering RNAs on DNA backbones to treat influenza. A drug that we have two perfectly, well, we've got 5 drugs now to treat bird flu. But no, so this needed to be shut down. It was called J4. And I'd written, as usual, 9 or 10 page summary of why it needed to be done and all the references and everything. And we had the furloughs. We were coming into work every day, but it was all chiefs and no Indians. Couldn't get anything done. So I decided to take leave, get my annual physical, see my girlfriend, this type of stuff. And so I went down to Florida. Or, sorry. What? I went down for my physical because that's where not my girlfriend, my doctors. Oh, boy. So anyway, this is going on. Get my physical. And the meeting we were supposed to have with Kennedy on the 4J got canceled due to his scheduling. And it occurred while I wasn't there. So they had the head of BARDA come in and sort of give my portion of the briefing. It outlined that I was going to go after the DNA things now. And 4 days later, I come out of getting an exam, and the phone rang, and it was Matt Buckham. He says, can we have a conference call? I said, well, not today. I'm in the middle of doctor's appointments, but it was a Friday. He says, on Saturday. I said, yeah, phone Saturday. So I get a phone call Saturday, and he says, well, there's a paper floating around on improved disease surveillance. And I said, yeah, I know, I wrote it. I'd sent it over to DARPA, to get them thinking about the same thing. Yeah, okay, well, no, that's fine. And now here's the not so good news. The secretary wants your resignation. I said, what? Yes, he wants your resignation. Well, this smells to high heaven. So I don't know what's happened, but I've done nothing wrong. The deputy secretary made me chief medical officer for Asper. I was communicating, cooperating, and having joint programs with the chief of staff for the Public Health Corps. We were starting to work on a cell phone radio frequency project to have done with using this new sensitive, take a snapshot of the cell. I was working with the Medical Reserve Corps to improve their training, a variety of civilian local authorities, trying to work with a unified hospital coalitions. We were working with multiple things. Oh no, well, so somebody leaked. Well, Dr. Hatfill, was said he was chief medical officer and he's not. And, he wasn't effective at working within HHS or other agencies. My God, I was helping BARDA. I was on 2 PECs at the White House. Um, it was all nonsense.
But do you see the real reason, Dr. Bowden?
Well, I
See what
heard.
see what Dr. Hatfill's working on? It's what he was working on. It was the
Sorry, say
chloroquine
that.
drug. It was the chloroquine drug that would have been very effective against a wide range, very inexpensive. So that challenges the pharmaceutical industry. It was investigating the effects of DNA on the DNA. And we know that the COVID vaccine is reverse transcribing DNA. It was all of these things that were the threat. And notice how he was supposed to be in there for that meeting. And then all of a sudden, he's let go. So that's the real reason. Bar none, Merrill Nass, Robert Malone, they're all muddying the waters, character assassinations. Sift through the noise and ask why they aren't. Merrill Nass isn't working at HHS. Why are all these people? No, it's because of what he was working on and what he had accomplished, which was the threat. Bar none.
You weren't supposed to do anything effective there.
Yeah, I heard somebody else's version of the story, which I'm not going to discuss, but it actually matched your version. There was a meeting involved, and it just sounded to me like this is BS. It doesn't really sound like something worth firing. A disagreement during a meeting. So yeah, it just seemed like
with her
higher, larger agenda.
Yeah, I told her she didn't have a clue what she was talking about. She didn't. But she doesn't work at HHS.
Yeah. What?
So
I'm confused at her.
Oh, listen. Well, the lawyer.
Is she just a consultant?
I have no idea. She's like his friend. The lawyers will get to the bottom of this.
No, okay? she's just fighting.
I still haven't been told why I was fired. I've not had a phone call. Yeah. I've not had an official message. All I had was Matt Buckham on the end of the phone. So again,
Dr. Hatfill, what they're trying to plant, and if you hear, you people are just at this Children's Health Defense Conference in Austin, and I heard he was fired because he was working on things that were outside the scope, and the secretary was concerned with. No. He was working on things that the pharmaceutical industry was concerned with. So, but
I kept everyone informed of what I was doing, and I ran everything through the proper channels.
We're going to take a break real quick, and I have more questions, but we have to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back. Wow. I'm watching the live chat on the SJ network. I'm watching the comments on Twitter right now. This is a bombshell interview. This is explosive. And I want to thank Dr. Mary Telly Bowden and Gray and Dr. Hatfill for their candor. Wow. I want to thank our sponsors of On Call with Dr. Mary Telly Bowden over at the Wellness Company. What if medicine? Think about this. The medicine that helped save millions during the pandemic was being made mostly in China. This is true. About 58% of the world's ivermectin supply comes from China, and 75% comes from Asia overall, but not the wellness companies. Introducing American-made ivermectin, safe, trusted, and produced right here in the United States of America. Ivermectin, as you all know, has been prescribed globally for more than 30 years. It has even earned the Nobel Prize in Medicine for its proven ability to eliminate parasites and support overall health. Now research is pointing to potential benefits in so many other areas: skin, the immune system, and even cancer support. Most pharmacies charge about $5 a tablet for ivermectin, but the Wellness Company is offering a higher 18 milligram dose for just over $3 per tablet. You'll get a 6-month supply designed for 4 21-day cleanse cycles, all at an unbeatable price. You can support American-made medicine, not China's supply chain, and you can do that right now by going to twc.health/Mary. That is twc.health/Mary. Stock up now with this amazing discount. Use her promo code MARY, and you will save $30 off this already amazing deal.
plus free shipping. That's TWChealth/Mary, and use that promo code Mary to save $30. Of course, free shipping as well. Let's get back to On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. She is live right now and continuing this pretty unbelievable interview. Can't wait to watch the rest. Keep it tuned right here.
We're back. And joined today with Stephen Hatfill, Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who is a biosecurity expert. He's had a long career in this field and just shockingly fired from HHS recently. Appears there was a larger agenda based on the facts surrounding his sudden departure don't really make sense. But yeah, I want to talk about a little bit sort of the inside of other issues regarding the pandemic. And one question I have that I'm hoping you can answer is, why did they get rid of monoclonal antibodies? And why the big focus on a vaccine that doesn't work? Do you have any?
Okay, the monoclonal antibodies are easy. We were dealing with a rapidly mutating RNA virus. So you got two types of viruses. You got some made out of DNA, and you have some made out of RNA. COVID-19 and influenza are RNA viruses. And one of their characteristics, and one of the ways they survive, is that when they replicate and make daughter viruses, they make tiny little random errors, mutations, when they copy their genetic material. So you may have COVID-19, but if we pull that virus out of you and sequence it all and start looking at it, you've got a whole bunch of minor variants. Still COVID-19 virus, but they all have little different things. And in that, they're called quasi-species. It has a name. It's still COVID-19 virus, but it's a quasi-species. So it's in a person, or maybe it's jumped into an animal, or jumped from an animal into a person, an RNA virus, from a bird to humans. If any of that whole, we're talking millions of viral particles, if somewhere in there one of those mutations gives one of those viral particles a little bit of a survival advantage, maybe it replicates quicker than the other viral particles. Maybe it's more stable in an aerosol than the other viral particles. Maybe it's more resistant to humidity. That starts to become the dominant quasi-species. And with time, this is what occurs. This is also why a virus, especially ones that jump from animals into man, may be tremendously lethal for the first infection cycles, but then gradually attenuate. And because there's a better balance, because a virus that kills its host quickly isn't going to get propagated as well as one that takes a long time to kill its host. This is how HIV spread over the world. It very slowly killed people, but very effectively spread. So this is the same. And this COVID-19 virus was mutating every 2 weeks. So by the time you've got your monoclonal antibodies and you're injecting them into people, and they work great, but only for about a month.
Yeah. No.
And now the virus has adapted away from it, and the antibodies don't recognize it.
I will just say, clinically, they worked wonders. And I don't know. I thought it was like people turned around so quickly, and then they were adjusting them. So they were, with each new strain, they were giving new ones out.
They were trying to.
Granted, I pivoted to. Yeah, I mean, I pivoted to ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and those ended up working well. But it just shocked me that, because it wasn't controversial, the monoclonal antibodies, and then they just, magically they disappeared as soon as they mandated the COVID shots, which the timing, in my opinion, was not an accident. But no one ever talks about monoclonal antibodies. So.
You had these two highly expensive drugs, Paxlovid and Molnupiravir, because now Fauci was pushing, oh no, we need oral medications that we can take early to treat these infections. This is what he blocked with hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. But now the fact that these are in patent, very expensive drugs, oh, now we need them. This is the duplicity of this idiot. I mean, it is criminal negligence. You cannot vaccinate your way out of a rapidly mutating RNA virus. When that spike, I phoned that Prasad guy at FDA when I saw this Spikevax coming out, and I asked him, "Is this the current strain?" Because I knew it wasn't. That vaccine was outdated when it came out. I don't know if it's not my field. I don't know if there was cross-reactivity, but the shot that the president just got probably isn't the one that's going to be circulating a month from now. You never get in front of it. And the countries that used ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine for early outpatient treatment, you feel bad. You go see your doctor. Your doctor gives you some tablets. You go home, you don't kiss anyone, you take your tablets, you're sick for 4 days or so, and you're not infective, you go back to work, and you don't have to go to hospital or be on a ventilator. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's how you control pandemic spread. In-hospital treatments don't control anything. They don't stop a pandemic. They treat if they work, remdesivir never worked. It was killing people itself. But nobody knows this because you cannot get the information out. And books have been written on it, but they're kind of complicated to read. It's much easier to watch NFL on TV and don't worry about it. Asper was put in as the watchdog for all Americans because it's not just pandemics. It's responsible for all the nasty things that can happen. Hurricanes, wildfire, tornadoes. It's a sheepdog on watch, watching over the flock. Mm-hmm. And, well, thank God they got John Knox there. I can't be a part of it now. But it was
Gray, what do you think about this? Gray, what do you think about this summit today, the MAHA summit?
I'm told that it's funded by Eli Lilly and Palantir, which would explain J.D. Vance's appearance. And basically, there's a new MAHA is being transitioned into the family owns the trademark for MAHA. So they're creating, what I'm told is they're creating something called MAHA Holdings that has MAHA Action, MAHA Institute, everything underneath MAHA Holdings. And that this is basically a coup to take control of MAHA. So I'm very, very worried about the direction that our brand and our movement could be forever stained, the reputation of it, and then demoralized. The enemy uses demoralizing tactics to slow you down or to kill a movement. And I think this has been going on for a very long time with Stephanie and with others around RFK. And now we're seeing what's happening today. I'm not there, but I'm told it's a lot of industries, a lot about wearables and devices and AI and all that. So instead of about what the agenda really was the foundational aspect of the agenda was make America healthy again, what does that mean? That means safe and effective vaccines. It means therapeutics. It means eating whole, dense, nutrient-rich food. It means free of pesticides. That's MAHA. MAHA is not MAHA anymore. And what I've heard, I'm not there, but what I've heard of what's happened today is not the MAHA that we signed up for. So Dr. Hatfill and I are here ringing the alarm bells saying things are seriously off. Things are off with Trump. I think everyone's talking about that for weeks now. And the latest is the H-1B announcement that's got a lot of the base upset. But it's not just that. It's saying that there's not affordability. And most people are really, really struggling out there. And the cost of housing. None of these major structural issues are being addressed. So I don't know what's wrong, but there's seriously something wrong. There's bad advisors around RFK, maybe bad advisors around Trump. But Trump doesn't seem to be the same person that he was in his first term right now. And RFK is not in charge of HHS right now. So how do we free our RFK? It starts with firing Matt Buckham and Stephanie Spear. and then we can go from there. But let's start there, and let's also demand a reason for Dr. Hatfill's firing, not these rumors where you get a text from somebody or someone that goes around with innuendo at the Children's Health Defense Conference. He deserves a reason. He went to the mat and put his reputation on the line for the secretary, and he deserves an answer, a call from the secretary, and a public statement, and all the supporters of the agenda deserve a statement, because now there's one less person, and I'm almost out there, and I'm not to the level Hatfill was, but there's 2 less people fighting for secretary's agenda. And I don't know who's picking up the baton from us.
Well said. What about Callie Means? Because I don't know, you probably know my feelings. I feel like he parachuted into the movement and hijacked. We had Kennedy was our nuclear bomb and Big Pharma was our target, and all of a sudden the target shifted to food. And I attribute that shift to Callie Means, who just rose to fame exponentially, and then all of a sudden is orchestrating the Kennedy to drop out of the race and join Trump. Have you interacted with him? Do you agree, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I get along well with Callie. We all saw your podcast with Dr. Cruz, and everyone needs to go watch that. That's very captivating television. But I don't know. They're definitely he is not aligned with we are on the vaccine issue and others. I think there are so many psyops being run right now. I don't know if he's a part of the big picture one. I think that he might be part of something. I didn't see him blocking. I actually saw him helping with some of the major, on the food issue, because the vaccine issue is one thing, and mRNA technology. But on the food side, we have a complete crisis in our farming and just completely poisoned food supply. And that wasn't being addressed because of the USDA and some nefarious forces at HHS as well. That's neither here nor there. But as far as Callie is concerned, he's a drop in the bucket compared to Stephanie and Buckham, in my opinion. And let's not forget that it was Stephanie. What I've been told is that Stephanie did not want Trump to endorse RFK to endorse Trump. That she wanted him to run the Libertarian ticket, which would have ruined his political career. He would have been a laughingstock. And so the only way that he had any relevance was to join with Trump. Now, I don't know if you remember that video that was filmed, that was released the day before the convention in the hotel room when Kennedy's like this, and Bobby III released it. Well, that was suspicious, and that was meant to divide Trump and Kennedy. And because there was a deal being worked out for Kennedy to be Attorney General, which was the most important position in all of the government, is Attorney General. We're not getting any prosecutions because Pam Bondi's at DOJ. And so if RFK could have been at DOJ, it would have been a game changer. That was scuttled apparently because of that call that was released, and that the people around Trump said you can't trust Kennedy now. So then they scrambled, and now he's at HHS. But let's not forget, so if Callie was meant to bring them together, I think that was smart. Callie's got his own agenda. It's not entirely my agenda, but I did get along with him. But yes, there's a lot of nefarious forces around RFK, and I just don't. Where are all his heart? Where are Leslie Manookian? Where is Dr. Cole? Where are the people that have been blood, sweat, and tears with the secretary for 15, 20, 25 years? Why is Dr. Hatfill not around him? My main point to him back to December or November, was you need a political warfare team around you to analyze all these lines of effort, to map out the opposition, to figure out the leverage they're using against you, what kind of leverage can we use against them? That's how politics works. But he's not doing any of it. So he's being taken out like a piñata and just beat around day in and day out because he has no one defending him. So it's a crisis, in my opinion. And Maha is on life support right now.
Do you think he was part of hiring Makari and Oz and those and Prasad and
I can tell you what the personnel process. You asked us to lead off this interview about how Dr. Hatfill and I got in. The personnel process. Dr. James Lyons Weiler, very smart PhD, one of the foremost experts on neurotoxicity and the especially effective heavy metals and aluminum and relating that to autism. He was running his own kind of shadow personnel vetting process back in November, December, but he was doing completely outside of Mar-a-Lago and of Susie Wiles and everyone at Mar-a-Lago. I said, Dr. Wiles, are you communicating with the team at Mar-a-Lago? Because I think they're the ones that are making the calls here on personnel at HHS, including McCary and everyone else. And he wasn't. He said, oh, no, trust the plan. It's going to be. And of course, I don't think anyone. He interviewed 150 plus people, and I'm sure you know people that got a call from him back in November, December. None of those people have been hired. So he was trying to run a little defensive spear online. It was pretty muted. And then, did you get a call from him?
That, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever happened to those?
Well, I had to take some sort of. Well, I took a personality test, which I'm really upset about because I don't know who has those results, and no one seems to know where they went. And I got a call from somebody, and I can't even remember who it was now. But yeah, it was a dead end. I wanted to. We're bringing in Shannon Joy because during the break, she texted me saying that she had a head-to-head altercation with Stephanie Spear where there was some screaming involved. So I was going to have her tell that story. I'd never heard this before.
Well, I've never told this.
I'm working my book right now because I can't believe how many whistleblowers have come forward. It's like a battered Stephanie Spear syndrome that everyone has. So it's unbelievable. Nobody got along with her. But go ahead, Shannon.
Listen, first and foremost, yeah, congratulations, Mary and Dr. Hatfill and Gray. I haven't heard this much candor in an interview about what goes on in Washington, D.C. in a very, very long time. I really appreciate, very brave and courageous, everything that all of you guys are doing. So I just want to say that off the bat. I almost fell out of my chair when you began talking, and I heard the name Stephanie Spear come up, and then it came up again, and then it came up again, because I had not only one but two incidents with Stephanie Spear, interestingly enough, in 2023 in Boston, Massachusetts, at Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s announcement of his run for the presidency. And so this was early on. If people are wondering if Stephanie Spear was running control and handling RFK Jr. after that time, I think it might have gone back way further than that. I was early in the medical freedom movement, a new broadcaster. And this was actually my very first live broadcast. I was working with the Died Suddenly producers, Ed Zoll, who's one of my producers now. We were on location live in Boston. We were going to do a full live presentation. I interviewed Dr. Robert Malone. I interviewed Jeffrey Tucker. I interviewed, some of the biggest names in the medical freedom movement at the time. And the night before the live event, we were running a promo. I went in with my production team into the empty arena. We were actually directed to that arena by some of the high wire producers saying, hey, go in and shoot your promo videos so that we can promote tomorrow's announcement. It's going to be a big deal. We had, connections because we were there on press. And we went in and we began shooting the promo video for the next day. And from across the arena, screaming, what are you doing in here? What's going on in here? Get over right now. And I'm mortified because this is my first time. I'm green. I go over and I'm like, I am so sorry. We were directed here to run promos by some of the other production people. And I'm Shannon Joy, and here are my credentials. And, I hope that we didn't offend at all. And, she goes, I've heard of you. Oh, everyone loves Shannon Joy or something like that. It was something kind of mean and dismissive. And I'm like, who is this woman? She had a baseball cap on. Like, what is happening? And Ed Zoll can vouch for me because he was there. He got yelled at as well. I was mortified, absolutely mortified, worried that I had burned bridges, but we kind of just moved on. We left and went on with our planning for the next day. The next day we had the live event and we went to set up. The entire media press was there, NBC, ABC, Reuters, you name it. They were all lined up in the back, a lot of independent media. And we were setting up our cameras and the lighting, ready to do our interviews. And we had this beautiful prime location to set up with a great view that actually Del Bigtree said, hey, you guys should set up right here. This is a perfect spot and welcome. We're so glad you're here. So we're getting ready. And we were there for 2 hours before the announcement. She came in, she came out. I saw her, like everyone knew where we were setting up in press. Everyone was set up around us. And right before the live event, she came over. We were about 5 minutes from starting the broadcast and she came over screaming again. I get out of here right now. In fact, we have video of it. She wasn't screaming in this video, but we actually have video of when she kicked us out. We had to take down our whole operation. She basically ruined the live broadcast. I mean, we had to pull everything. I didn't know if she knew who I was or where she got my name, but at the time I'm like, this woman just hates me.
What was her reason for kicking you out?
There wasn't enough room for other cameras. Everyone was set up. we had been there for 2 hours. Like everyone was set up, and ours was the only operation that she pulled out and shut down. And so
Well,
I was so green then, I had no idea why. But now hearing what you guys are saying, subsequently after that, I was completely stiff-armed. I mean, I'm pretty sure she was the one that blocked me from ever having an interview with Bobby Kennedy Jr. I reached out through the proper the proper channels multiple times. I know everyone that Bobby Kennedy knows. Like everyone would ask me, why aren't you interviewing Bobby Kennedy? I know all of his friends, all of his associates. And now hearing what you guys said, I'll shut up after this because I've never told this story, but it all like clicked into me as you guys, and I would corroborate with you. I mean, I think that she has an enormous amount of power, and that she has been around and controlling things around Bobby Kennedy for way longer than many of us even imagine. And you guys just broke something huge here. I think she's very similar. I would liken her to the Susie Wiles to President Trump. Stephanie Spear certainly controls everything that Bobby Kennedy sees, everything that he does, everything that is pushed out through him and his channel. And I think it's a huge problem. So I just thanks for giving me the platform, Mary. I appreciate it. But I will corroborate everything that you guys have said here.
Right, I wrote a piece on that on Emerald Robinson's Substack about who's calling the shots at HHS and went into great detail about Stephanie. So I'd encourage everyone to check that out. And
wow.
She hasn't. Back when I was originally fired, she did have the secretary defend. She went and had him defend her publicly on his X account. She hasn't done it this time, but I know that everyone in Maha is aware of the problem. And it goes back to the campaign. I mean, I can tell you multiple times where we know for a fact she set him up to fail. If you remember the Iowa abortion question at the Iowa State Fair, that was a disaster. That was set up by Stephanie. He wasn't properly briefed on that. If you recall when he got in trouble in New York for the Jewish, when he's saying that COVID was specifically engineered so the Jews were not susceptible to it. That was all set up by Stephanie. So, I mean,
the Tylenol thing should have. Nobody could get into. I wrote the Tylenol paper that served as the background for that statement. I went through the literature. We showed all the different sides of the evidence. It was a good paper. There are links to autism, but it's only one of many factors. The most important are the vaccines linking it to autism. Mr. Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy needed to mention that. It's not, there's about 30 drugs that are associated with autism. It's like, that's why there's a spectrum. If you combine all these different things, vaccines and different drugs, and nitrous oxide by midwives giving it during delivery, you can get an extreme effect. Each of these things by themselves, it's synergistic. The more of these factors you have, there's a genetic component as well. Often, the more these things come together, the stronger is the effect. From profound autism to mild to other types of behavioral disorders. And this is what he needed to say. We have midwives in the United States because there's not enough OBGYNs. And these are nurses, and they had Tylenol out like candy. They're allowed to use nitrous oxide in delivery. That should not be allowed. But they do it. How much? We don't know. But we know it's changing the child's methylation patterns of his DNA.
And because we so botched the mRNA announcement and had no momentum from it, they had to play it safe on the Tylenol. Then they didn't even justify the Tylenol properly. Then RFK then had to go out and backtrack on that, which was an embarrassment. And then
now everybody's confused.
They didn't even talk about the aluminum and the vaccines and so go ahead. But it's really
my theory. We have to wrap up. One last point, and I want to get your thought on it. Is my theory is that he is backing off from the largest public health crisis of our generation, from the elephant in the room, from a product that under any other circumstances would have been pulled off the market a long time ago. He is backing off of that because he's got other agendas that he has placed at higher importance, most likely autism. So he wants to get the autism situation fixed and he's going to sacrifice mRNA because he's worried that if he goes after mRNA, he loses his job. What do y'all think? Gray, you start, and then Dr. Hatfill, you end.
No, I don't think any of it's going to be properly addressed because he hasn't built the political case for it. He doesn't have the people there to explain it, and he's being managed and handled, and the true causes of autism aren't going to come out either, because that requires going after the vaccine issue and the 30 different drugs that are immense profit takers for the pharmaceutical companies that Dr. Hatfill just referenced. So unless the people around RFK are replaced, then, and he has true MAHA people in those positions, we will not see any of these decisions. Actually, we will waste the most important opportunity of our lifetime. I don't know if we're ever getting that same opportunity again.
And President Trump will have wasted the opportunity.
Yep.
I'm sure he's not being told what's going on.
I feel like the autism thing is another carrot that they're dangling in front of Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s most ardent and long-term supporters. These are moms and dads and grandparents that he has worked with for 20 years. They're incredibly loyal to Bobby Kennedy Jr., and so they are trying to hold on to maintain his credibility with them. I know a lot of these people. It's tragic. I hate watching this, but I have a feeling that this is simply a carrot to keep them on the rope, to keep their support for as long as they can. But I don't see anything happening with autism, sadly.
When I first got in, I thought there was going to be a plan. I said, look, trust the plan. Get down to Dr. Bowden. We get point A to point B to point C. There's got to be a plan on all these. You have to lay the groundwork first, and I understand that. You just can't go in guns blazing. But I can tell you there is no plan on any of this. Yeah. And ACIP, and yes, they've kind of right around the edges, they've nibbled a little bit, but that's as far as it's going to go. Like the ACIP committee, they moved the COVID vaccines from recommendation to informed consent. Good, great. They couldn't even get the courage to vote on the hepatitis B vaccine at the last meeting. This is not, with the damage that's being done by these products, nibbling around the edges is not going to get it done. And we have to move more quickly and with a plan. And in 2 years, 3 years, if the Democrats take the midterms, then everything's going to come to a screeching halt. And then we're going to look back at this and say, what did we actually accomplish? In fact, we'll probably have done more damage to our movement than we did help because of the backtracking that we've had to do. The backtracking that the Secretary did on the Tylenol was it was cringeworthy. And then, so in the last 3 weeks, we've got to go over it. Yeah.
Well, for both of y'all, what kind of impacts is people like myself and Shannon screaming on X all the time about this? Are they listening to us, or is this just we're just
But other Americans, this is the only outlet for information. This is our only outlet. Programs like these for us to actually get the science out to the people. You can't do it through mainstream media. You can't do it through the medical journals. They're subjugated. The drug companies have become so powerful, more money than some nations. And they're controlling things.
Yeah, I would say the collective pressure does help. They're extremely dismissive of you and others. They view you as flies, annoying flies that aren't even worth.
I experienced it firsthand.
They ignore any media requests from pretty much anyone alternative media. I think the New York Times and CNN are the ones they need to respond to. Stephanie's favorite line is just send all of our supporters to the Secretary's X feed and to his videos and the press releases. And that's all they get. So what a way to treat your people. So that's the attitude of and it's all coming down from Stephanie. This is the attitude. She is extremely dismissive. In my piece, I talk about how I was with Leslie Manookian on the road. I was with Dr. Cole and Mary Holland and others. And Stephanie had no relationship, especially with some of these longtime activists. I can form a friendship with you, Mary, in a few weeks because of that's just how I work. And because I care so deeply about these issues. With Dr. Hatfill, now we're very good friends. It doesn't take long. It is strange that she's not friends with any of these people that that have been fighting with the Secretary for 15 or 20 years. So she's not Maha. She's not a Maha. And the press tries to brand her as a Maha loyalist. She is not a Maha loyalist. She hates
President Trump. I've got a list of a lot of her tweets that she scrubbed off the internet. I've got screenshots of these, and they're horrendous. She
She's
hates
scary. She's
it.
scary.
She's given an interview to the United States of America Communist Party. There's a video out there
Whoa.
of her interviewing with
Whoa.
them.
That's not good.
Gray, do you know
How-
anything about her history? Like, where did she come from? Like, do you know anything about her history? I mean, she's been with
Well, I've got to
Bobby
drop
Kennedy.
for a second to get back to work, but
That was too fascinating.
you can read it. I mean, I know that she worked at this tiny left-wing publication called EcoWatch. She's just a radical environmentalist, and the story of how she initially attached herself to RFK Jr. I'm not exactly sure how, but RFK helped bail out the EcoWatch back in 2011 by lending his name credibility to it, and then they were close ever since. But my opinion, she's an asset of somebody, maybe an intelligence asset, and you can't quite get into all that here, but it doesn't make sense. This is not just she's incompetent and not friendly. There's something much more sinister amiss here.
This is intentional.
Wow.
Yep.
Isn't JFK's daughter-in-law with intelligence? She's over at personnel, or was? She's over at personnel now?
Yes.
In
Yes.
charge of,
I'm blanking on her name.
Amaryllis.
I forget her name.
Yeah.
Amaryllis. Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of shady characters. This has been enlightening. Thanks for letting me, cameo on your show, Dr. Mary. I'll let you go close out your show and say goodbye to your guests.
Yeah.
But
Well, no. Yeah. Well, thanks. That was amazing. Thank y'all. I know we ran over, so I appreciate you staying on.
Thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, and Gray, like I said, I don't know if you heard that earlier, but you reached out to me. You were the only contact I had with HHS, which was nice of you to do, because a lot of us have been fighting so long, so hard, so loudly, and we have been completely dismissed. So, and you were very measured, and I didn't agree with everything you texted me, and we got along and we worked it out, and it was great. So, I thought you were doing your job the way it should have been done. You were bringing me in and you were keeping me from going ballistic as ballistic because you were measured, and I don't know, I thought you were doing a great job. So sorry that this happened to both of you. And Dr. Hatfill, thank you for being so outspoken. Even when you're in that position, you did not back down, which is unusual. So I very much appreciate that. And I hope we can meet again soon, and hopefully with some better news at some point.
Yeah, it helps. Let's keep up the collective pressure, and let's free the secretary, because he is a good man. He knows his stuff. He's a true believer. I can tell you that from being with him. He is just right now. He's encumbered, and that's so we have to somehow find a way to free him from whatever's holding him back.